Righto, start of our adventure. Rain stopped, about to get on a railway track. 5k's of that, can't wait.
In order to do the Huskisson River, we had two choices, or three in actual fact. One which wasn't open to us because the four-wheel drive track into the Huskisson River was closed. Another one which the Chasing Cheetah went on was to go along a four-wheel drive track from Waratah all the way to the Huskisson River below the confluence with the Hatfield. We chose to do the Bulgobac, inspired by John McLean and Matt Brain, which involved us going to the Boco Siding, walking along the railway track for 5k's before entering the Bulgobac from there, and then soon after we would meet the Q River. We were aware that the conditions were fairly dry, so after our Gordon Gorge trip we were well and truly versed in portaging and other means in order to get your raft to go along in a low level water. We were so lucky that Brady could come along for company, but also for these magnificent drone footages which you can see here going along the railway track. Absolutely amazing.
Busily packing up to go down this beautiful, fast flowing stream.
Literally after 10 minutes, Nick managed to tear a hole in the front of his raft. It took us about half an hour to get it sorted before we kept going on to the next place, which was the falls just before the Q junction. This proved to be a fairly laborious but also exciting way to get down and to get along to start our trip proper.
I've still got the end of it. Yep, you got it? Okay, I can come now. Alright, good work team. There goes my boat, I'll never see that again.
Let's send you it.
Fancy that. Absolutely perfect. Thank you.
Once down below the falls, we hit the Q pretty quick, and our hopes to get extra water, even though it was extra water, those hopes were dashed. As you can see here, we had to get in and out of the boat for the next 1.5 days. While we didn't get very far down the Q River, our efforts were well worth it, given the spectacular views in the forest set in right deep in the Tarkine wilderness. And this was accentuated by Brady's drone footage and his great cooking skills here, as you can see.
Delicious indeed.
But Brady's drone skills were put to great effort here to really show the grandeur, the splendour, the sensational nature of this place, which you can't get from any other medium, I believe.
Oh, a bit of fun. Oh, well, that was bloody good.
Look at that. You see that?
You're facing the wrong way, that's nice.
Thank you. Cheers.
There you go, I'm just...
while it was a lot of hard work and we got stuck quite often, the rocks were interplaced with lots of beautiful, tranquil pools which we could appreciate every time we got somewhere. However, quite often in between even those, we had log jams and other obstacles in our way. But we were always mesmerised every turn. We would see something special, something new, and all our efforts, I believe, were well and truly worth it. We had to negotiate and portage many rock falls, sieves and other things, and as you can see, not everything went our way. It took us a while to get rid of Nick's raft that was stuck underneath that log, but in the end we managed to find and get it out, and in the process almost lose a paddle. But they were sort of obstacles that we worked around, which made the trip a true adventure.
You got it? Bloody hell, that's a decent log jam.
We were so grateful to be in the middle of the Tarkine wilderness to experience such beautiful vegetation. The redeeming feature of this section of the river were the pools that we constantly enjoyed, interspersed of course with getting off rocks and other things in order to make our way. One pool was nicer than the next, but this particular one I really liked, and it was an absolute ripper. We continued down here until lunch, until we hit the steeper section of the river. We had been advised to pack up our things and go along the side of the river until we get to the bottom of the steep section. But in hindsight, I think we rather enjoyed inching our way bit by bit, block by block, stone by stone, into one pool and the next. This was the third repair job on this trip, but only the first on my boat, as we continued our way down the steep section.
You sort of go over that and round towards the left, underneath. I've got the end of it.
This portage was by far the longest and also the hardest.
You got it now?
This portage I remember the most because it ended up in this big long log which blocked the river. It was only 3 o'clock, but we decided, because we could find a camp spot, that we would take this one rather than risk going ahead. This left time for Brady to practice his draining skills again. As you can see from these images, absolutely spectacular. From this angle we can see the difficulty we had. We had to cross get down the river by the right. I can't thank Brady enough for bringing along his drone to enable us to see the view of the forest such as this. Absolutely amazing. While a viewer of this area might think that all these images look pretty much the same, to us every bend, every pool, every rock had an anticipated grandeur and beauty which we're all fascinated by, and it didn't stop all trip.
Wow.
We made many stoppages along the way to inspect the beautiful forest. Here we have a magnificent myrtle tree with its awesome barrel and its beautiful bark. Everything around this place is just so stunningly beautiful. We had spent 2.5 days getting to the Huskisson River. There was a fear among that we might not even be able to reach it on the 3rd day, but progress was a little bit quicker, even though there were still lots of shoal rapids which we had to scrape our way across. Shortly after, we had only a bit of rain from the trip, which wasn't too bad. We had hoped to see some platypi. However, we saw plenty of fish and also saw a Tasmanian devil, the second that I'd only seen in the wild. Our camp for the 3rd night was right next to an island in the middle of the river. Absolutely beautiful flat setting which had been used before because someone had provided some sawn-off seats for us. Again, this footage of right above the river is absolutely spectacular. Sunshine greeted us for the 4th day. The river was a lot wider, a lot more water, and our progress was a lot quicker. And it wasn't long before we came to our intended stop for the day, which was the limestone cliffs. We had seen previous footage from what Matt and John had taken from these cliffs, but as you'll agree, the drone footage makes this almost as we experienced it. This next shot of us underneath the cliffs, the drone coming down to check us out, absolutely spectacular. I'm so pleased that I have to be part of this experience. How lucky are we to have experienced something as beautiful and grand as this place on the Huskisson River. In the end, it only took 3.5 days instead of the anticipated 2.5. The queue really slowed us down. Thanks to Nick and Brady for a great trip. I can't wait for the next one. If it's as good as this, we'll have a fantastic time.